Hello friends, Hal here. Today we just got done with a live chat. I was talking with one of my patrons from Patreon. We had a great time. We spent a lot of time talking about projects and about different kinds of video equipment and music and all kinds of different things. In fact, you can find Tomlin Leckie, did I say that right, over at Patreon. And he does harmonica lessons, and he's a wonderful guy. We just had a great time hanging out. I wanted to talk today a little bit about how to figure out your own songs. And Tomlin and I didn't really talk about that. We talked about other things because that's where our interests were going. And so, since I said in my Patreon message that we were going to do that, I'm going to record this video really quick and post it later. So, when you're listening to a song and you don't have the tabs, or you have tabs that don't look like they're working, or they're not the right tabs, or they're full of errors or something, and you're thinking, you know, boy, I would really love to play the song, and I want to know what the chords are. One thing that you have to be able to do is you have to be able to listen. You have to be able to hear very well, and you have to develop your ear. The first thing to do is just to try to do something. You can listen to a recording and play it, and then try to find the chords. Have you ever tried singing? Singing is a great way to develop your ear, and I would strongly recommend that you actually do that you work on your singing. Sing along with a melody, sing along with the radio, sing along with a recording, that kind of thing. Try to be able to hit Try to be able to hit notes with your voice. And the better you can do that, the better you will be at figuring out chords in a song. So you have to be able to find the bass notes. Like when you hear a chord, you have to be able to find the bass note and be able to find it on your guitar. And usually you can do that on the E string, right? And that's a good way to do that. You hear a chord and you find the bass note, and then you say to yourself, okay, what note is that? One way to do that is to get out your tuner, and I've got one on my phone here. It's called Clear Tune. Here, I'll show you. That's what it looks like. I love this little app. It's great. Great app for tuning. That's a C, and so the first thing I try is a C chord. If it's not a C chord, maybe it's a C minor chord. But I think you'll be able to figure it out pretty quickly. So if you find the bass line, let's say that the bass line goes C, G, A, E, right? Like in this song. Okay, that's Pachelbel's canon, or Pachelbel canon. Canon in D. Now if you can figure out those notes, C, G, A, E. And of course the first thing you would do would say, oh, is it a C chord? Yes. How about the G? Is it a G chord? Now in my last week's chat, we actually talked about how to figure out chords from knowing a scale. And if you start on a C chord, you want to say to yourself, is this in the key of C? Now in the key of C, we have C major, D minor, E minor, F, G, and A minor as our main chords. So you would try a C chord, a G chord. Your A, you would try A minor. And on the E note, you would try E minor. That's the first thing you would try, because those chords go along with the key. Now, that isn't always the case in songs. Sometimes there will be an exception, like it could be an A chord instead of an A minor chord. But if it follows the key, if it stays in that key, then those will be the chords. C, D minor, E minor, F, G, and A minor. Okay, so that's what you do, is you actually, first you have to develop your ear. And if you think you have a pretty good ear, find the bass line or the bass note in a chord, and then find the chord. Try a major chord first, if you are not sure, and then try the minor chord, right? And see which one sounds the best to you. And you do that for all your chords. Now this is a very simplified version of what you actually do to figure out chords, because sometimes you will hear a chord and then maybe it's an E note on the bottom, but it could be a C chord, because E is a note in that chord. And you might think, well, maybe it's an E minor chord, and you try that. And if it happens to be a C chord with an E in the bass, then it won't sound right when you play E minor. So we'll talk about this more, but basically, those are called slash chords. And I do have a video, and I'll put the link right there on the screen so you can see what the video is, talking about slash chords and how they work. So those are called inversions also. Anyway, let's stop right there. Oh, one more thing. When you're listening to a song, listen for the last chord of the song. For instance, if it ends on C, right, then chances are it's in C major. But there are times when a song will stop. It might be in the key of C major, but it will stop on a different chord. And that's to give the listener not a feeling of finality at the end, but to give the listener a feeling of it's going to go somewhere else, but it just stops and kind of lets you hang there for a while. That's not always a really nice thing, is it? And sometimes songs fade out. And then you're probably wondering, well, what's the last chord? Well, it doesn't have a last chord because it keeps fading. So anyway, we'll talk about that later some more, about how to figure out what key a song is in. And it has to do with what chord sounds like the home chord and what chords sound like chords that are not home chords, where they give that feeling of rest. Well, anyway, thank you very much for coming by, and we'll talk to you later. If you want to know how to join a live chat, go to Patreon and sign up there. Also, we're going to have other things happening here at Quail Studios. Our lead sheets are going to be available online, and you will need to get a a password to be able to get into our lead sheets that we have constructed ourselves that are very good. And so we hope you'll sign up for that and get that password so you can have access to all of them. We'll talk to you later. Get in touch with me over at Patreon. And also, if you want to get on our email list, lessonswithhal@gmail.com. We'll see you later.